Reflecting on my high school experience, it's been 10 years, a decade, still with no boobs and still with social anxiety. But it's better. So these next thoughts here, it's going to be me ranting and rambling about accounts and notes and memories. And it's kind of all over the place, but let's just go for it anyway. By the way, keep in mind, my earliest memories are me going to preschool with my then best friend and feeling high anxiety in the classroom. So that's my earliest memory that I can think of, and that's when my high anxiety began. So I've just like always had it. Anyway, first let me say I have a friend on Facebook. They were posting about how excited they were about our 10-year anniversary, the high school reunion, and I was like, one, who's excited about those, and two, who goes to those? Like, not me, because that is dead and gone. I am over it. Anyway, so let's just talk about what happened in high school, some cliff notes per se, the journal of me. So, my anxiety on the first day of school, every school year, it was bad. I remember middle school. I know this isn't high school related, but this still feeds into that. Middle school, the first day of sixth grade in Washington, oh no. I almost fainted. I legit almost passed out. I was so scared. I was seeing stars. I was dizzy. I was lightheaded. I was on the floor of the bathroom just not able to breathe. It was bad. I think that was one of my bigger panic attacks, and I survived. I'm still here. I'm still around, but it was not very fun. Um, I was actually diagnosed with anxiety and depression during high school. So, despite being so shy and quiet and having anxiety, I wasn't diagnosed with social anxiety until my freshman year of high school. And my mom, I remember she felt so bad after that appointment. She came home, went into her room, crawled into bed, and started crying because she was asking me and feeling so bad, like, have you always felt this way? You've always been anxious? And I was like, yeah. She just thought I was shy and quiet, but no, there was more to the story. There was more than that. And I had an actual disorder where my mind could not calm down and I would freak out around people. Depression came 2 months later, 2 months, I meant to say 2 years. 2 years later, my junior year of high school. And that, I believe, if I look back, that was probably my first depressed episode with my bipolar disorder, because I'm bipolar and I've been both manic and depressed and also psychotic multiple times. So I think that was my first depressed state. Um, this is something about me, and I don't know if this was the mania in high school, but I do feel like I was often manic in high school if I look back on it, and I'm very self-aware and very in tune, so I feel like I know. I legit thought everybody was my best friend. Like, I was friendly and nice to everyone, and I was pushed around. I was bullied pretty heavily through different friend groups, like other people's friend groups, not my friend group, if that makes sense, like bullied in packs. Um, it was just a mess. I thought my first relationship was normal. It wasn't. It was very unhealthy, very manipulative. There was a lot of sex. It's just a lot. And that really made me look at myself differently, my body differently. Um, yeah, now I'm in a very happy, healthy relationship, and I love my fiance Nate. And I can't believe 10 years ago I was stuck in that headspace where I was letting somebody use and abuse me. So that was horrible. My parents tried to keep us apart, but I would always fight it, and they hated him, and I loved him, and it was just a mess. And then in the middle of that, after meeting him, and then before we broke up the first time, or like, it's so confusing, it's hard to explain. Shortly after I met this bad boy, we're just gonna call him the bad boy, I met somebody else who was my first official boyfriend. Super sweet, nice guy, very charming, very funny, and I loved him a lot. And then he broke my heart just a few months into us dating, and he would go from, my friend at the time even warned me and said, yeah, he goes from girl to girl in my friend group, and so he's dating all my friends, so beware. And I didn't listen, and I got my heart broken. I really liked him. I wonder where he's at now. I wonder if he's happy. I wonder if he breaks other hearts for fun. I do have an addictive personality. I get very into things, very OCD, very ADHD, both of which I have. So I liked this bad boy so much that I would just go back for more, break up, back for more, break up, back for more. That was just me. I would cry every single day. This was a little bit after I graduated from high school as well, but towards the end of high school, I was going home and crying, and I could not stop the waterfalls. The waterworks were there, and I was very emotional, very much a mess. I was only on ADHD meds called Strattera during high school, and then later I found out about the bipolar and everything. I know with depression we tried different things, but in the end it was just me on Strattera that I can remember. That was the one that helped me the most at the time, but I also think it was very addictive and I relied heavily on it. Um, Math also made me cry. So not just myself and my brain, but math made me cry too. I could not get the concepts. I could not grasp what it was trying to say, and it's very frustrating. I'm a very creative, individual, imaginative personality. My brain doesn't do math very well, and my dad even said I have like a block in my brain for math, like a wall is there, and to this day, it gives me high anxiety. Um, Also, I was often friends with the grade below me. Like my senior year, I was friends with juniors. My junior year, I was friends with sophomores. And that was just because growing up K through 12, I was so shy and quiet. I never really had a group of friends or a lot of friends. And so by the time that I was in high school, I was getting more extroverted and more outgoing. And I was extending myself, but I felt awkward doing that to my same grade because they knew me for years, if that makes sense. So there was that. I was bullied by a so-called friend in math and then also some girls in PE. And the girl in math, the math teacher didn't do squat. She sat like feet away from me where the bullying was happening in the front of the classroom by the desk, by her desk. And this friend would always say, she probably said it 100 times every single hour of math, "You're so stupid, Emily. You're so stupid, Emily." And the teacher just stared. She didn't do anything. And I hated math, so maybe that's a part of why she didn't do anything, but it was horrible being called stupid by your so-called friend. She also hated me because I was dating, at the time, I was dating that nice guy, right? She hated me because she wanted to date him, and they were both Catholic, and that was her dream, but apparently. Um, but yeah, that was horrible, and my brother, when I told him that story later, he was like, why don't you just move seats, like move to the back of the classroom to be away from her? And I was like, oh, I never thought of that. I let people use me as a punching bag. I used to get ran over, walked all over all the time. And you can't do that in life. You got to stand up for yourself. So I learned a lot from that experience. PE, I was made fun of for being really scrawny. I looked anorexic when I wasn't. The food would just go straight through me and I couldn't gain weight. And I had a high fast metabolism. And I remember changing in the bathroom stall, like where the toilets are, alongside a really, well, I guess she would be obese girl. She would also be changing. And we were the fat and skinny girls changing so no one could see us because we felt judged. And nobody really bullied her that I remember, but I do remember one day I was using the restroom and these girls were talking about me by the sinks, I could tell. And they were saying, "Oh, here she comes," like as soon as I flushed, like, "Oh, here she comes." And then they just stare at me while I wash my hands. And I've never felt so dehumanized, just so very distraught over my appearance and hating myself for it. So that was sad. This is very sad, you guys. Like high school was mean to me, honestly. Um, yeah, the whole school thought I was anorexic. That was what a girl told me. I'm trying to remember if that was the math girl or somebody else who said that about me. She also complimented me. This was the one nice thing she's ever said about me. I wore this red and white polka dot top with a black and white polka dot skirt. It looked super cute. And she's like, "That's so Melanie Martinez." And I took that as a compliment. But yeah, she hated me. I hope she has a terrible day tomorrow. um, and then bullied by sophomores my senior year. So there was this gorgeous blonde sophomore in one of my classes at the end of the day, my senior year of high school, and my friend group and I laughed at a comment she made because we genuinely thought it was humorous. Not to be mean, but we thought it was funny because it didn't make sense. And she got super offended, and from that day forward till I dropped the class and stopped going to that class, it was an extra class. I had enough, credits and everything, so I didn't have to be there. But anyway, I just remember I remember her hating me, loathing me. She would like record me on, I think, Snapchat on her account. She was always recording me, laughing at me, saying things under her breath across the room, and like it was bad. And then my friends were like, "You can't drop the class. You got to stand up for yourself." And I was like, "No, guys, I can't do this anymore. Like I've done enough high school. I'm done with this. If I don't need to take this class, I don't need to take this class." And then I heard from my friends that one of the security guards who paroled at our school, super nice guy, awesome guy. The kids just love him. I remember apparently he had yelled at the girls and they couldn't sit by each other anymore. Then eventually they like hated the class and they were just really hating being there. And like he got after them because he was like, yeah, you made this girl drop out, blah, 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 blah. So, like, he really stood up for me when I couldn't stand up for myself. And I remember my dad went in there and he was like, this is a no bullying policy. Like, my dad was talking to, like, the principal and whoever else. And he was like, my daughter dropped a class that she was interested in. It was like a, like, home decor class, or I don't know what it was called. Anyway, but he was, like, real, like, red about it. Like, she dropped this class that she enjoyed because these crap girls, like, and you didn't do anything. At the time, it was a pregnant teacher, but then we had a sub because she went into labor or she was on maternity leave. And both teachers were very rude, the actual teacher and then the sub. They did not do anything to defend me. They just sat there. Terrible teachers. If I become a teacher, I'm not going to do that. No. I was called the Astro Killer in my floral and design class. That teacher hated me because I made friends and we always laughed and talked too much. I will say I was a butt in that class. I'm not proud of that moment, but I remember I was Astro Killer because I I would always cut the flowers wrong and I'm not very good with flowers to this day. I was called out in health as an ectomorph example, like the body type. That was really awkward. I felt really singled out, and I thought that was very rude. I mean, girls are very insecure about their body regardless, but for being called skinny, that's to me, it's like a bad word. Like, don't call me that. I have a friend, and she even said, "Don't call M the S word." She really gets bothered by it. Everybody was calling me skinny all the time, and it was just driving me crazy. Um, I had a friend or so-called friend. I forget his name, but he's a funny guy. I'm not gonna name drop this time. He took my keys and hid them with his stuff. And this was like the last period of class. And so when I go to my car, well, my mom's car that I was driving, like the kid car, I remember I couldn't find the keys. So I called my parents. I look everywhere. I'm going up and down the school, all over the place, up and down the halls. And then I find the next day, he's like, oh, by the way, I took your keys yesterday, and it was a joke, but I forgot. So I think he was jealous. This is my theory. I think he was jealous of me because I was happy and I had friends, and he was miserable and he had no one. Like, I thought we were friends. We would talk sometimes, but it was awkward. It was weird. And after that, I didn't really trust him. Um, I had insomnia K through 12 most every night, really bad. And I think I've been in psychosis more than the two giant occasions in 2017 and then again in 2023. I really do believe that I had really bad psychosis some periods of here and there growing up, like real bad. I missed a month of junior year and I went on a 504 education plan because I was missing a lot. I missed a month of school when I was like 17, 16, 17. And no, it was spring, so I was, yeah, 17. And it was bad. It was just a really dark time. I remember my sister Haley even took time off college to come see me. She was in Idaho at the time, and she came back to Washington to make sure that I was okay. And she was there for me. She took me to the top of the universe, as we call it. It's this giant hill. It's like the highest point in my area that I grew up in. And she told me, it gets better, I promise you. She has depression as well. Mine was bipolar, but we thought it was depression at first. That was my first major episode, and I just remember her being there for me, and that was really, really beautiful. The teachers, I call them the teachers who saved me. Nide and Westy were their names, like their nicknames, like that's what the kids called them. They both called me, and I'm probably gonna get emotional. They both called me when I was at home not going to class, and I invited them both to the wedding, and I would be honored. I would be honored, and it would be awesome if they could come, but I understand if they can't. But I just needed to know that they were invited. I needed them to know, I can't talk, that they were invited. So yes, I managed to graduate on time with my class in 2016. The year before was just hard with my depression. I remember an interview practice for juniors. That was horrible. I did not practice. My social anxiety was so bad. I was stuttering, not sure what I was saying, and it was really embarrassing. But I remember leaving that room. I somehow felt so good, and I think it was a manic episode, and I was like, I got this, on top of the world. So it was just very weird because you would think I'd be crushed after it going so poorly. Anyway, it was weird. I shut down and froze. I feel like I did that a lot in school. I was too worried about what other people were thinking about me than I was performing well on quizzes, tests, things, assignments, homework. Like, I couldn't be present at school because I was too worried. Like, how am I going to look if I pick up my pencil that just fell on the floor? Like, stupid ass stuff like that. I was so high on my, I think it was bipolar, right? I was so high on myself, like so high on the bipolar and the ADHD meds. And I even remember a friend calling me meth head. um, and then that bad boy I was talking about, he said I could be on drugs. Like, I was so hyper and I was so medicated, but not. I don't know. I look back and I'm kind of embarrassed, not ashamed, but I'm embarrassed of how I came across because I was so high anxiety and so high manic. I don't know. I was never asked out to dances. And then when the good boy, not the bad boy, when the good boy broke up with me, I was technically back with bad boy, but I couldn't go out with him because we were hiding our relationship, which we shouldn't have. But it was a whole thing, it was a whole mess. But I went with somebody to go to prom. And he hated being there. I didn't want to be there either. I could tell he didn't want to dance with me or talk to me. He wasn't making an effort. I did ask him. I only went to dances to the ones that I did the asking. I didn't really talk to guys. I was pretty shy, and so I just didn't have, I don't know, I didn't have that experience. My sister said, the same one who helped me with the depression, she said I was the kind of girl guys date, and I found that interesting because the only two people that seemed interested in dating me, one was um, smoking weed in his free time, and he was a dropout. He was the bad boy, right? And then the other guy was very nice until he broke my heart. So that was my love life in high school. Um, and then let's see what else we got here. Just a few more points. I remember my crush said that I was slow, and I think this was just before I missed a month of junior year. This was when I was really deteriorating. He was a sophomore, I was a junior at the time when I knew of him. And he was just this cute blonde, and I really liked him. And when he called me slow, see, this is what happened. So I was taking a makeup quiz because I missed some school. This wasn't the month that I was gone, but this was like a few days or something. I went to a nearby classroom to take this quiz. It took me the whole hour, and then by the time the bell rang and I went back to my original classroom to turn into my teacher, the guy was like, the guy I liked, he was like, "You're slow." He looked me right in the eye, but my eyes were down. I could tell he was staring at me in the hall, and he just felt the need to tell me I was slow. And before that, like, I've never really talked to him. I just liked the way he looked. He was really cute. Just a tall blonde, you know. He had a great smile and he seemed nice, but up until that point, right? So that kind of crushed me that my crush would say that. I missed my high school grad party. So the night we graduated, which was legit, I think today being June 3rd, I think this was exactly 10 years ago because I think I graduated Friday the 3rd. I'm trying to remember. Anyway, it was so high school ago. I do remember crying, having a meltdown. My grandma was over at that time, and I was very emotional after having walked all that high anxiety build up. I couldn't go. I was gonna go with my friend Sierra, but I couldn't go, and I told her I wasn't feeling good or something. I had some excuse, and I feel really bad about that, but I don't know. I don't know if I would have had fun. I didn't really have fun in high school. I'm not a party person, but I do remember my senior year, I had things like every weekend at my parents' place, just with my group of friends. And so I guess I did have a friend group at that point, but it was so fun. It was like kids from cross country, it was kids from church, it was kids from school. Like, it was great. And I think that was a major highlight. And um, I do admit that some parts were fun. There's a lot of darkness too, but especially cross country. Now that was fun. There was Charlene at one point, and then it was Allison and um, Rachel. Yeah, I think my main friends were Allison, Rachel, and Sierra. They were pretty consistently nice to me. Funny, I don't talk to any three of those girls anymore. We just lost touch and we just moved on. That's okay. I still talk to some friends from high school. It's funny, I'm closer to them now than I was when I was in high school. Um, uh, I remember nothing, just bad memories. That's a quote I wrote down. Um, that's not completely true. There was a lot of bad and sad and mad, but a lot of it was actually okay, but never okay enough to redo it. No. Um, this is scary. I drank nail polish remover just hours before my grad party. I remember my throat, my esophagus was like on fire. Um, I was too scared, too worried. I don't tell people this. I don't think I've told anybody this. But yeah, I drank nail polish remover because I didn't want to go to my own party, my own graduation party at my backyard. I was just too scared. And I would know all these people, but it was nerve wracking and anxiety inducing, and I was really, really scared. So it went away, it cleared up. I never got treatment for it, but it went away after that day, and I don't feel pain in my throat anymore. There's never been a problem. My parents just were upset that I did that. I think that's the darkest part of high school. My parents wanted me to go to the party when I didn't. That sounds so high maintenance and so spoiled and selfish, but I was legit too socially anxious. Okay, we're moving on. That was really sad. I've never told anybody that, I don't think. High school does end, thank God. It does, it does. The highlight was cross country. Honestly, running saved me. My high school teachers, those few saved me. There was one I think it was Wheeler. Mr. Wheeler, he told me, hey, it's okay. Because I told him I missed a month of school, and he was like, I understand. And he was a quirky guy, and I really needed to hear that from someone like me who's quirky too. But yeah, I think about the people who were there for me, and those teachers really were. So I think that was the highlight alongside cross country. And I think I talked about everything. Yeah, that was high school in a nutshell. Never to revisit again. Actually, I did go visit my high school before I moved in 2019 to Idaho, just to say hi to my favorite teachers and to thank them again. And it's not all bad. I just feel like you're so brave if you can get through it, or if you do homeschool, however you do it. Like, if you can just get through K through 12, life is so much more beautiful. And I'm so much happier now. And I never would have thought in 2016 that 10 years from now I would be marrying, in the very same month of June, just 10 years later, I would be marrying my best friend and starting life with him. And it does get better. I promise you that. Class of 2016. Okay, I'm going to stop.